All of this success is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlyn Clark. She's the reason the WNBA just won the lottery.
Caitlyn Clark's record-breaking contribution to WNBA revenue and growth sent shockwaves across the sports world, and her influence is nothing short of extraordinary.
Caitlyn Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
In just one season, this 22-year-old rookie from Iowa turned the WNBA on its head, becoming the league's biggest draw and economic powerhouse. Caitlyn Clark isn't just a basketball star, she's a one-woman revolution.
Is box office. She is a star.
But the attention she brought to the sport, hopefully going to have a residual effect for years to come.
Her impact is rewriting the rules of what's possible in women's sports, bringing in 26.5% of league-wide activity through jaw-dropping viewership numbers, soaring merchandise sales, and record-breaking attendance. For the first time ever, the Indiana Fever became a league leader in popularity, drawing over 17,000 fans per game and crossing the 300,000 total fans mark for a season, all because of Caitlyn. And it doesn't stop there. Her games were a magnet for viewers, with 1.2 million people tuning in on average, marking a 199% increase over other WNBA games.
By calculations, he's responsible for 26.5% of the league-wide activity. The first time a WNBA team has drawn 300,000 fans in a season.
But we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else.
This kind of dominance hasn't been seen before, and it's no surprise that her jersey sits at the top of merchandise sales, propelling a 500% increase league-wide. Let's not forget the financial windfall she brought to Indianapolis itself.
So there comes the female GOAT, and these women are going from having 3,000 people in their arenas to 20,000.
$36 million in economic impact for one city, all from one player. Yet amidst all her success, the whispers of resentment linger. Critics like Angel Reese and Aja Wilson may try to downplay her achievements, but Caitlyn's impact is undeniable. She's carrying a league that has long struggled for attention and putting the WNBA into conversations it's never been a part of before. This isn't just about basketball, it's about rewriting history. Buckle up, because we're diving into how Caitlyn Clark is reshaping the WNBA one record at a time.
The ratings were phenomenal because of Caitlyn Clark. She didn't want to take credit for all of those ratings, but we all realize that Caitlyn Clark single-handedly is responsible for the WNBA mattering.
Caitlyn Clark's rookie season wasn't just impressive, it was transformative. The Indiana Fever, long considered an underwhelming WNBA team in terms of both performance and popularity, became a phenomenon overnight, and the reason was simple: Caitlyn Clark.
Thank you so much for calling attention to our sport that literally no one cares about.
With her electrifying playing style and unparalleled star power, she brought a level of excitement that fans couldn't resist. The Fever's average attendance skyrocketed to 17,000 fans per game, marking the first time in WNBA history that a team surpassed 300,000 fans in total attendance during a season.
The regular season attendance, they averaged more than 17,000 fans.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
Clark didn't just fill seats, she created an atmosphere that turned casual spectators into diehard fans. But it wasn't just about the crowds in the arena. Caitlyn's games became a must-watch event on television.
The event usually averages about 14 total viewers, but this year the WNBA draft won record ratings and nearly doubled its normal viewership. That added audience is largely thanks to Caitlyn Clark, who went #1 overall to something called the Indiana Fever,
drawing an average of 1.2 million viewers per game. That's a staggering 199% increase over non-Clark matchups.
Her regular season games were watched by 1.2 million viewers on average, which is 199% more.
Think about that. Every time Caitlyn Clark stepped on the court, she nearly tripled the league's average viewership. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was creating moments that captivated audiences far beyond the typical WNBA fan base. Her games became appointment viewing.
there is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlyn Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlyn Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
A rarity in a league that has struggled to compete with other major sports for television ratings. Even more remarkable was the fact that these numbers were achieved in her first year. Usually, rookies take time to adjust, both on and off the court, but Caitlyn Clark hit the ground running. Her ability to connect with fans, combined with her thrilling style of play, made her an instant sensation.
What Caitlyn Clark does is kind of simple, really. She shows up at games, she signs autographs, she talks to little girls wearing jerseys, she smiles to the crowd, and then here's the most important thing. She competes like a maniac. I mean, like a maniac.
She wasn't just playing for the Indiana Fever, she was playing for the growth of the entire WNBA. Every highlight reel, every clutch performance, and every jaw-dropping three-pointer added to her mystique, and fans couldn't get enough. To put it into perspective, Caitlyn Clark's games brought in more viewers than some NBA games during the regular season. Her numbers weren't just impressive for the WNBA, they were groundbreaking for women's sports as a whole. By herself, she redefined what success could look like for the league, proving that women's basketball could attract a massive audience if marketed around genuine star power. This was no small feat, it was a revolution in real time, with Caitlyn Clark at its center.
Caitlyn Clark is just such a class act. She was incredible, breaking all types of records, and that's something she was certainly proud of. We saw lots of smiles on the court.
Caitlyn is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
As fans flooded arenas and tuned in from home, one thing became clear. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just a rookie, she was the future of the WNBA. While Caitlyn Clark's on-court performance dazzled fans, her off-court contributions cemented her status as a game-changer for the WNBA and Indianapolis.
But they don't want it to grow if it's certain people at the face. And there is still this undertone of jealousy that for some reason I cannot get around calling it anything else but that, because I don't know what else it could be. I thought it was going to get better this season, but it hasn't. There are still people who seemingly, to me, feel like they just don't want Caitlyn to be a part of it.
The economic ripple effect she created is unlike anything seen in the league's history. According to reports, Caitlyn's presence generated an astounding $36 million in economic impact for Indianapolis in just one season.
But perhaps most astonishing is the economic impact on Indianapolis, which Brewer says is upwards of $36 million. This is one 22-year-old from Iowa.
Let that sink in. One player, fresh out of college, brought the kind of financial boost typically reserved for marquee events like the NBA All-Star Game. The Fever's games became a centerpiece for local businesses, with fans traveling from across the country to watch her play, filling hotels, restaurants, and bars in the process. Merchandise sales skyrocketed as well, driven primarily by Caitlyn's overwhelming popularity. League-wide sales increased by a jaw-dropping 500%, with her jersey flying off the shelves faster than any other player.
And 45% of broadcast value came from Fever games. And the league's merchandise sales went up 500%, with Clark number 1 followed by Reese number 2.
Her merchandise was so dominant that even Angel Reese, one of her loudest critics and a prominent player in her own right, couldn't match Caitlyn's sales figures. Clark's ability to sell not just jerseys but the WNBA brand itself shows how deeply her influence resonated with fans. Whether they loved her for her game or her underdog narrative, people wanted a piece of Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing. Remember, there's been good players come out of college, but nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really cared.
Attendance wasn't the only area where Clark made history. Her games also drove up TV ratings, directly increasing the WNBA's broadcast value. Fever games accounted for 45% of the league's total broadcast value, a mind-boggling statistic considering she's just one player on one team. Her appeal wasn't confined to Indiana. Fans nationwide tuned in, making her a household name and elevating the league's profile in ways no one had thought possible. The numbers are staggering. 1 in every 6 tickets sold foothold league-wide was attributed to Caitlyn Clark. These aren't just impressive stats, they're transformative for a league that has long fought to establish a foothold in the competitive sports market. The ripple effect of Clark's contributions also extended to the team's valuation. The Indiana Fever, once considered a smaller market franchise, are now estimated to be worth upwards of $300 million, largely due to Caitlyn's presence. Her ability to elevate not just her team, but the entire league is a testament to her once-in-a-generation star power. What's more, she achieved all this while earning a mere $75,000 salary, a fraction of what male rookies in the NBA make. Comparatively, male counterparts earning over $10 million contributed less to their franchises than Caitlyn did for the Fever.
Caitlyn didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this. We've been trying to tell you. And once again, for so long, as a player, I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. In so many ways, I would have loved to have been valued as a basketball player. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. I think everybody in the league can say that. But nobody ever let us do that.
Despite these jaw-dropping contributions, the league's current structure poses challenges to fairly compensating a player of her magnitude. The WNBA's revenue is tied closely to the NBA, which only owns 42% of the league. This severely limits the financial rewards players like Caitlyn can receive, regardless of their contributions. Still, it's clear that Caitlyn Clark isn't just an exceptional player. She's a transformative force. She's proving that women's sports can drive significant economic impact when given the right platform. For the Fever, the WNBA, and Indianapolis, Caitlyn Clark isn't just a star. She's an invaluable asset, driving a wave of growth that the league has been waiting for. Despite Caitlyn Clark's astronomical success and undeniable impact, her journey hasn't been without its share of detractors. Prominent players like Angel Reese and Ajay Wilson have tried to downplay her influence, but the numbers don't lie. Caitlyn's contributions to the WNBA's revenue, popularity, and overall growth eclipse anything the league has seen before. While some critics dismiss her as a product of media hype, the facts tell a different story. From ticket sales to merchandise to TV ratings, Caitlyn Clark has not only earned her spotlight, she has redefined what success means in the WNBA. Still, the criticism she faces exposes a deeper issue: the resistance to acknowledging her as the face of this new era in women's basketball. Clark's meteoric rise has sparked debates about fairness and compensation in the WNBA. Despite generating $36 million in economic impact for Indianapolis alone and being responsible for 26.5% of league-wide activity, she earned a rookie salary of just $75,000. In stark contrast, her male counterparts in the NBA earn millions, even rookies with far less impact than Caitlyn. For instance, an average NBA rookie makes upwards of $10 million, with some earning as much as $13.80 million, a staggering 184 times more than Caitlyn's salary, despite generating significantly less for their teams. This glaring pay gap isn't just unfair, it underscores the systemic barriers holding back women's sports, even as players like Caitlyn prove their worth beyond any doubt. What makes Caitlyn's story even more remarkable is how she continues to thrive despite these limitations. Her on-court performances speak for themselves, highlight reels filled with deep three-pointers, clutch moments, and an ability to electrify fans. Off the court, she's building a legacy that could pave the way for future WNBA stars to demand what they're truly worth. Yet the league's revenue-sharing model presents significant challenges. The WNBA is partially owned by the NBA, which controls 42% of the league, limiting the share of profits that can go directly to players. Even if the league's total revenue increases, only a fraction of that trickles down to the players, a reality that keeps stars like Caitlyn from receiving fair compensation for their contributions. The frustration among fans is palpable. Many argue that if Caitlyn Clark were in the NBA, her value would be celebrated and compensated accordingly. Her ability to generate millions for the Indiana Fever and the city of Indianapolis highlights the disconnect between her impact and her earnings. Fans and analysts alike have called for the WNBA to adjust its revenue model to ensure players like Caitlyn are rewarded appropriately. After all, it's not just about fairness, it's about incentivizing the league's growth. Without stars like Caitlyn, who else can carry the WNBA into the future? Despite the barriers, Caitlyn Clark's influence is impossible to ignore. Her rookie season wasn't just a breakout moment for her career, it was a transformative period for the league itself. She's not just a player, she's a movement, proving that women's sports can achieve unprecedented success when given the spotlight. Her story isn't just about numbers or statistics. It's about breaking boundaries and setting a new standard for what's possible in the WNBA. As critics attempt to discredit her and the league struggles with structural limitations, Caitlyn Clark remains steadfast, continuing to elevate the game and inspire the next generation of players and fans alike. Caitlyn Clark's rookie season has not just been a success, it's been a revelation. Her story is about more than just basketball. It's about how one player can change the trajectory of an entire league, a city, and even the perception of women's sports. She's proven that when talent is combined with charisma and opportunity, the results can be nothing short of historic. With $36 million in economic impact, 26.5% of league-wide activity, and attendance and viewership numbers that shattered every expectation, Caitlyn isn't just the face of the Indiana Fever, she's the face of the WNBA's future. Her ability to generate millions in revenue while being paid pennies compared to her worth is a glaring example of the inequities still plaguing women's sports, but it also highlights the untapped potential that she's unlocking in real time. Critics like Angel Reese and Ajay Wilson may attempt to overshadow her accomplishments, but the numbers are indisputable. Caitlyn Clark is creating waves so massive that even her detractors can't ignore her influence. From leading the league in merchandise sales to drawing the biggest TV audiences in WNBA history, her contributions are cementing her as a generational talent. More than that, she's inspiring conversations about the value of women athletes, not just as players, but as economic powerhouses. She's proving that women's sports are not a sideshow, they are a main event, capable of captivating millions and generating billions when given the platform they deserve. Yet, Caitlyn's story also underscores how far the WNBA still has to go. Her rookie salary of $75,000 compared to the $13.8 million earned by NBA rookies with far less impact is a sobering reminder of the uphill battle for equality in professional sports. The league's revenue-sharing model, constrained by the NBA's partial ownership, limits the ability to properly compensate players like Caitlyn, who are driving its growth. If the WNBA wants to sustain its momentum, it must find a way to reward its stars fairly, ensuring that players like Caitlyn Clark can thrive not only as athletes, but as icons of a rapidly evolving sport. But Caitlyn Clark's legacy will not be defined by these obstacles. Instead, it will be defined by how she's transforming the game. Her influence has made the Indiana Fever a marquee team and turned the WNBA into a focal point of national attention. Every game she plays is a statement, not just about her own brilliance, but about the untapped potential of women's sports. She's breaking down barriers, proving doubters wrong, and showing the world that the WNBA can deliver star power and economic success at a level once thought impossible. As we look to the future, one thing is clear. Caitlyn Clark isn't just the present of the WNBA, she's its promise for tomorrow. She's setting the foundation for a league that could one day rival its male counterpart, not just in talent, but in cultural significance. The path won't be easy, but with Caitlyn leading the way, the WNBA is entering a new era, one where young girls can dream bigger, athletes can demand better, and fans can experience the brilliance of the game on the grandest stage. Caitlyn Clark is more than a player, she's a movement, and we're just getting started. If you're ready to dive into the latest and greatest moments in women's basketball, you're in the right place. Here on WNBA Original, we cover everything from breaking news to inspiring stories, bringing you closer to the action and the players who make it all happen. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so you'll always be the first to know what's happening on and off the court. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more from WNBA Original.